Hey team, so I love a good low budget web series, especially ones made by a group of high school or undergrad students. You get to see the creative vision of a young person realized. They're not working for a big studio, they don't have to pitch to profit-driven executives. It's usually just a group of passionate students limited only by their own creativity and small budget. One of my favorites is Twilight the Musical. I, of course, found out about this because a young Jenny Nicholson plays Bella in half the episodes.
I'm so clumsy and begrudgingly in love.
Here you go, Bella.
Anyways, I mentioned in my last video, which you should go watch after this one, that conservative political commentator Michael Knowles is a failed actor. And while I was doing research for that video, I learned from his Wikipedia page that he starred in a web series during his time as an undergraduate at Yale. I went searching and sure enough, this web series is still up on YouTube. So I watched it and immediately became obsessed and knew I had to share it with you guys. Then I got the idea of going through Michael's IMDb page and watching everything that he's listed as having acted in. Consider this an I watched every Michael Knowles movie so you don't have to type of video. Not that anyone other than me would ever feel like they have to watch every Michael Knowles project anyways. And if you're here because of that spicy thumbnail, don't worry, we'll get to that. It's not clickbait. I mean, it was intended to bait you into clicking on this video, but it is also real. I'm not going to tell you when I talk about it though, because I want you to watch the whole video. Okay, if you must know, skip to this timestamp, but really you should stick around. There's lots of good stuff in here. Let's start with the web series, Connections, Never Do Business with Friends. In episode 1, we meet Maxwell and Mike, two friends who are running late for a meeting about a web series that they're working on. Maxwell is in a tree taking pictures of squirrels. It's very funny to me. I want to frame this picture of this squirrel and put it up in my room. Then we meet Bud, the director, and Ivan, the writer. Ivan is at a library telling a story to young kids based on the script for the web series that he wrote when he gets a call from Bud saying that he's late for the meeting. Ivan calls Bud honey over the phone.
Hi. Honey?
Are you still reading those kids one of your poorly written children's books?
So I thought, oh, they're dating, but no. I guess Ivan was just trying to impress the kids by convincing them that he was dating someone, apparently.
Well, I'm coming, okay?
Okay, see, I'd say that's what she said, but we don't have time because we're too behind schedule. Think about that.
Yeah. Love you too!
We also meet Dan and Alfred, the producer. Alfred actually isn't in the show that much. I think the joke is that producers don't really do anything. Once everyone is at the meeting, Alfred gets a call and...
We have a minor problem. Jake quit. What?
Jake?
Jake? Jake was supposed to be the lead actor, and now they're all scrambling to recast. Later, we meet Chloe, the lead actress for the web series, as she warms up for auditions. We get a montage of 3 terrible auditions before Michael Knowles as Jack walks in and, immediately gets cast.
Say I haven't really found my thing yet. I haven't really found my thing yet. You're in.
Bud and Maxwell enter Bud's apartment where they meet his roommate Alistair, who wanted the lead role, but gets stuck with catering duty instead.
I offered the part to someone half an hour ago. Damn it!
The crew starts filming and wacky hijinks ensue. Bud calling Maxwell gay is also a running joke. Not sure why that's funny, but okay.
It's 9 a.m. The sun hasn't even come out yet.
You haven't even come out yet.
Later, we meet Bud's girlfriend, Heather. They fight about Bud working too much, and he decides to make it up to her by casting her in the show so they can spend more time together. Dan and Mike interact, and it's kind of awkward. I think Mike has a crush on Dan. Chloe walks into the editing room and ends up leaving with Dan, which makes Mike jealous. Later, Alistair asks Mike if she and Maxwell are dating, and she says no, they're just friends. Alistair takes this as Mike saying that Maxwell isn't interested in women at all and asks her to put in a good word for him. Later, the crew shows up on location to film, but Bud isn't there. We also meet this old lady who's an actress and is absolutely radiant every time she's on screen.
You know, this is really, it's cold and I have to be someplace and I can't stand around here all day waiting for Bud.
I'm obsessed. Turns out Bud is just late because he and his girlfriend overslept. Mike finishes editing the opening montage of the show, and the episode ends with them uploading and celebrating the release of their first episode of the web series. Episode 2 opens with Heather trying to convince Bud to get Ivan to rewrite the second episode, so it ends with her character Joy and Jack's character Peter hooking up. So Bud tells Ivan that he wants Peter and Joy to consummate their relationship, and
Consummate?
As in get married?
No, Eva, not as in get married. Are you Amish?
Mike and Maxwell are hanging out, and Mike complains about her computer not working. Dan ends up being the IT guy who comes to try and help her fix her computer.
Does not smell like hair.
That's your solution?
It's unclear what was wrong with the computer, but I'm not surprised that this didn't fix it. Isn't air just used to, like, clean the keyboard? What did he think he was doing? Maxwell tells Mike that she's way cooler than Chloe and doesn't need to be jealous.
You know you're way cooler than Chloe, right?
The next day on set, there's some tension about the fact that they're now filming a sex scene. Chloe is upset that Heather gets a sex scene and she doesn't.
I just wanted to check up on my competition.
How'd you find out about this?
Oh, Heather couldn't keep her mouth shut about her flourishing new role. Of course you keep the hot scenes for your girlfriend. What about me? What do I get?
She's also frustrated that her love interest, Dave, hasn't been cast yet, and Dan offers to do it, which of course makes Mike jealous. The producer, Alfred, gets a call from Dr. Reed, who's apparently funding their production, and tells him that he's planning on making an appearance on set today. Alfred tries to get in touch with the people on set, but it's too late, and Dr. Reed walks in while they're filming the sex scene. Dr. Reed is pissed because he finds the whole thing inappropriate, so he pulls his funding. Later, Dan fixes Mike's computer. I know you were dying for a resolution to that subplot.
Hey, fixed your computer.
Thanks.
We also finally meet Maxwell's girlfriend over the phone. Wait, have I told you guys yet? Maxwell has a girlfriend. Anyways, we finally meet Maxwell's girlfriend over the phone, and Dan says that he thought that Maxwell was gay.
It's Olivia, it's his girlfriend.
I thought he was gay.
Ivan convinces Dr. Reed to fund the sex scene off screen, so they all go back to finish filming when...
Hey Heather, good news. We're back on for the...
Oh, honey, we were just practicing for the scene.
But we canceled it.
I thought you just said we're back on.
We are.
Oh, great. We're ready when you are.
Honestly, the end of this episode is so great. Episode 3 opens with Maxwell falling off a swing and cutting his face.
Maxwell!
Oh no, Mike, I'm bleeding!
It's okay.
I'm bleeding!
He and Mike run into Dan on the way to Mike's dorm room, and Dan gives him a bandage. Then Dan and Mike decide to throw a Christmas party for the cast and crew of Survive, so they go into her tiny dorm room to plan. They bond, and it's cute, but when Dan leaves, we get the best joke from this episode.
See you later.
Who's that?
Hi, Lisa.
Don't avoid the question. Who was that?
Mike tells her roommate that she thinks Dan has a crush on Chloe, but Mike's roommate is an icon, and I love her.
Chloe. Chloe. No.
She's just so gorgeous, and I'm just on the side dripping in sweat. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Stop there. Get up here. Just trust me. I know what I'm doing. Gonna turn on some K-pop because that's necessary.
Bud goes to Heather's apartment to grab his stuff because he's done with her after she convinced him to add a sex scene so she could kiss the other actor and then continued making out with him even after they stopped filming. A pretty reasonable response, I'd say. Heather's mad and says that they should work through this together, but Bud takes his stuff and leaves. People start showing up at the party, and Mike and Dan have another cute moment before Alistair interrupts to ask if Maxwell is single again. Due to a classic sitcom communication misunderstanding, Alistair thinks that Maxwell is in fact single. Then they just spend the rest of the time at the party talking about their religious beliefs.
I was raised Catholic. After a while, though, I just started not believing in the doctrine aspect of things. I mean, I like the spiritual ideas, but not the loss.
And that's the end of the episode. Not as strong of an ending as episode 2, I fear. Episode 4 opens with the crew filming a scene where Jack and Chloe are about to kiss but get interrupted by a phone call. In the middle of filming, though, they actually get interrupted when Mike gets an actual phone call. It's a call from her brother who tells her that their father got hit by a car and died. This lighthearted comedy romp with stakes lower than the average sitcom episode suddenly got very dramatic. But honestly, this actress killed it. Like, genuinely, this line delivery is fantastic.
My dad died.
I think that actress is also the creator and director of the web series too. I'm obsessed. Let's be friends. Mike leaves and Dan follows her into the editing room. He comforts her and she falls asleep on his shoulder until her brother gets there. Flash forward 1 week and Mike and her brother visit their father's grave. It's a little weird, but I get that they probably didn't have the budget to film an actual funeral. Maxwell shows up for support and it's honestly very sweet. I love how these two are unapologetically besties and it's not weird. We know Michael Knowles' opinions on this from his drinking game.
Often, men and women can be close or even best friends without ever wanting to cross the lines. You're old-fashioned, right?
Pretty old-fashioned.
I think that you would say no.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
But this show takes the stance that Mike and Maxwell can not only be friends, but best friends, and it's never a problem. And I love that. Episode 5, the last episode, opens with Dan making Mike a smile music mixtape. Is it still called a mixtape if it's on a CD? I don't know. Dan calls Mike and Mike tells him that she's planning on flying back to school early so she can get away from home and she'll be on campus by New Year's. Dan says that he lives close to campus and that they should meet up for New Year's. When Mike gets back to campus, she finds Bud in the editing room and he tells her that they are going to take a little break from filming.
We both thought that it would be best if we took a couple months off from shooting.
You can't do that. You can't just have Peter wake up it's winter and then he walks out it's summer. I mean, I'm fine. We can keep moving forward.
I think we all need to take a little time off from this stuff.
Mike and Dan meet up, but Dan forgot to bring the mixtape he made her. She says they should just stop by his parents' house and grab it, but he confesses that he actually lives 3 hours away. 3 months later, the crew meets to discuss how they're going to finish filming this project. Ivan tells everyone that he's decided to rewrite the last episode as a musical. He's very excited about it, but nobody else wants to tell him how bad of an idea it is. We're back to sitcom level stakes, and I'm here for it.
Emma gets cancer. No! And Peter nurses her back to health, and they get married! That's crazy. How romantic!
Sounds like a walk to remember.
The team decides that they're going to have Jack pretend that he can't sing so they can cancel the musical idea without hurting Ivan's feelings. Meanwhile, Alistair is still crushing on Maxwell and following him around when Ivan asks for their help. Ivan is working on a love song between Jack and Chloe's characters and asks Maxwell and Alistair to sing it for him. And honestly, they eat it up.
Now cancer and love are both in my heart, so I'm gonna say it, though it might be in bad humor. Ever since we met, my love been growing like a tumor. Oh, Peter, I've never met anyone like you. I thought I knew what love was, but I was wrong.
While they're performing, Maxwell's girlfriend walks in to find Maxwell in Alistair's warm embrace, and she storms out because she thinks she's being cheated on.
Olivia, what are you doing here?
I thought I would surprise you, and I brought you a plant, but I guess I shouldn't have bothered.
But Caterpie!
Don't shoot!
Maxwell chases his girlfriend into the hallway to explain what happened, and Alistair freaks out when he learns that Maxwell is dating someone. Maxwell and his girlfriend make up immediately, and Ivan says,
If this were one of my scripts, I probably would have stretched the whole thing out a bit longer.
which is very funny to me. Later, when everyone gets to set, Jack tells Ivan that he can't sing, but Ivan insists that he try.
And ever since we met, my love's been growing like a tumor.
It's great. It's so natural. It's so unforced. It's perfect.
Jack sings, and Ivan loves it, so he decides that they should continue with the musical plan. They start filming, and Maxwell, freaks out. Ivan asks him what's wrong, and Maxwell says that whenever he hears that song, he's reminded of the time that his girlfriend broke up with him for 30 seconds, and it's just too painful for him to hear. Maxwell says he can't do the scene, which, honestly, he was, standing behind an unmoving flip camera on a tripod. I'm sure they could have found someone else to press the record button, but okay. But somehow this works, and Ivan agrees to scrap the musical idea.
I understand. Our spirits are too fragile to be toyed with in this way. The musical's off.
Thank God. I mean, what?
The crew finish filming, and the episode ends with a little Where Are They Now segment. Alistair goes to culinary school, Bud and Ivan start a production company. Alfred runs a production company. Maxwell is a stunt photographer for National Geographic. Dan designs helicopters. Mike studies piano at Yale, and Jake and Chloe are also dating now, apparently. And that's Connections, Never Do Business with Friends. Michael Knowles didn't have as big of a role in it as I had hoped, but I honestly still really enjoyed it. Yes, it's low budget and in some ways a little low quality, but it's a cute little comedy, so rather than detracting from experience, it kind of just added to the charm. The show's treatment of its gay characters, or gay character, leaves something to be desired, but it was 2011, it could have been a lot worse. The writing was clever enough that it had me laughing out loud at least a couple times per episode. But the thing about Never Do Business with Friends is it's only half of Connections, because they actually made Survive. That's right, plot twist, we have another web series to talk about. And this show features Michael Knowles much more heavily. Let's talk about Survive. So Michael narrates this series, but his narration voice is actively terrible.
Today's the day. Step 1. Get out of bed.
Also, the show's opening montage is very funny to me. The little like smile Michael does in the mirror, it's Michael plays a man named Peter, and the episodes cut between 2 days in Michael's life 1 year apart. In one, he sneaks into an art exhibit where he takes down someone's art so he can put his own art up in its place. As if there isn't plenty of empty wall space in this room, but whatever. This girl walks in on him and asks him what he's doing, and he goes, "This girl named Emma from the art department asked me to make some changes." And she's like, "I'm Emma from the art department." And he's like, "Oops." She asks why he's really there, and he tells her that even though he's a med student, he really likes making art, and he wanted to put his art in the gallery so he could get feedback from an art professor. Emma and Peter have a connection, so Emma invites Peter to come visit her at the coffee shop she works at. But now Peter's running late for class, so he rushes back to his apartment where we meet his roommate. He lies to his roommate about where he was. I guess he's embarrassed about the whole art thing. While he's getting ready, he gets a phone call from his dad, and they yell for a bit before he hangs up.
I know I'm very busy, but I'll call. I swear. Okay, bye, Dad. Bye.
Later, Peter goes to visit Emma where she works, and she introduces him to all of her art friends and invites him to show him around the drawing studio. Flash forward to 1 year later, and it's Peter's first day at his new job. He's working as like a cancer diagnosis consultant or something. He has his first ever meeting with the icon, the legend, this old lady who is trying to get tested for a mutation to make sure that she's not passing anything on to her granddaughter. Let me just say this about the old lady. Is she 56 divided by 7? Because she ate. That was so stupid. I'm leaving it in.
It's been very informative, and I appreciate your help, and you did good.
Peter meets up with his old roommate and tells him about his new job. He says he didn't think his first day at the job went well, and he doesn't think he's making a big enough contribution to the world. I love this scene because the actor who plays the roommate clearly messes up his line, but they just leave it in.
I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. Can't believe I have to like arrange a lunch date. I forgot your flowers, I'm sorry.
I also love how he delivers this line.
Oh my gosh, I could really use some flowers right now. Yeah.
Notice that 2 men being on a date is the punchline of yet another joke. Peter goes home where his current girlfriend, I think, made him dinner. While looking at his planner, he realizes he met Emma exactly 1 year prior. So he goes to meet her at her work.
I've gotta go. I'm sorry.
You mean you're leaving after I've made us this dinner?
Yes.
And that's the end of episode 1. Episode 2 opens up with a fight between Peter and his father.
You know, knowing that your father was coming, could you have taken a little time to pick up after?
We didn't know you were coming.
What have you been so busy with? Based on your midterm grades, you sure haven't been spending it on school.
Peter opens up about being interested in art, and his father does not take it well.
Ah, Peter.
Yes?
It's very disappointing.
Later, Peter sees Emma taking pictures of a church as he walks past. He says he spends a lot of time there, and this is how Emma learns that Peter's religious, which surprises her. The next day, Peter's walking with his roommate, who he tells he has reservations about Emma because she's not religious herself.
She could be an atheist for all I know. She told you she was an atheist?
Later, Peter and Emma are hanging out in the art studio talking about religion. They come to the conclusion that they can respect each other and the differences in their beliefs. Cut to a year later, and we see Peter talking to Emma at her job where the last episode ended. Peter is looking for advice from her, but Emma seems bitter about how things ended between them.
But I still really feel a connection to you.
Are you seriously saying this now?
I don't mean it like that.
I can't believe you.
Emma tells Peter to suck it up, and Michael gives us the best line delivery of the episode.
Suck it up, Peter.
How can you say that, suck it up?
Emma says that she thinks she deserved an apology and leaves with her boyfriend, Dave. Played by Dan. Dan's a cool guy. Then Peter tries to make things right with Joy, the woman who made him dinner that he didn't eat because he had to go ask his ex for advice. She says yes, the fool. He barges in and kisses her, and the episode ends with a montage cutting between Peter and Joy hooking up and Peter and Emma hanging out a year prior. Episode 3 starts with Jack carving this honestly really ugly wooden heart. Peter meets a girl named Julia in a study group, and Julia asks a totally hypothetical question about a person who has breast cancer running in her family. A year later, Peter meets with Julia at his job. They catch up a bit, and Julia tells Peter that she got married, and Peter lets Julia know that he's surprised that she married a fat person by using this gesture.
Phil.
Phil.
Which is weird and gross. The real reason she's there, though, is that she thinks that she might have ovarian cancer. Peter pulls some strings to get a biopsy for Julia.
For God's sake, Shannon, just schedule the test.
What does God have to do with it?
Nothing.
That's where you're wrong. God has everything to do with it. I'll see what I can do.
He says it's important to him because...
If I can catch this early enough, I'll feel like I've finally done something here.
Which feels pretty selfish to me. A year prior, Peter and Emma meet up, and he gives her the heart pendant.
I made you this.
Oh. Thank you. It's lovely.
Girl, don't lie. Their religious differences continue to cause stress in their relationship. Later, Peter's talking to his roommate about it and says...
I gave her a necklace.
That's serious?
It was sort of an apology.
Oh, I'm glad things are going well.
I don't think she liked it.
You think? Sorry to keep going in on the necklace, but it is so ugly. Anyways, it seems like his conversations with Emma might be causing like a little religious crisis for him. Later, Peter and Emma meet up again, and Emma apologizes and says,
I love the necklace.
No, you don't. Stop lying. Anyways, Peter says he doesn't want intangible stuff to get in the way of their relationship. And that's where episode 3 ends. Episode 4 starts with Peter and Emma studying together, and Emma introduces Peter to Dave for the first time, which makes Peter a little bit jealous. Flash forward to a year later, and Peter tells Julia that she does, in fact, have cancer. Julia kisses Peter, even though she's married. It's unclear why. Later, Dave asks Emma if she still has feelings for Peter, and she says yes, and they agree to take a break. I'm not sure why. Last we saw, Emma was not happy with Peter and did not seem interested in rekindling things with him. Flashback to a year prior, and Emma is showing Peter around the camera studio. They're about to kiss when Peter gets a call from his mom, who tells him that his dad has terminal lung cancer. Peter feels guilty for spending his time on art when he's supposed to be spending his time studying to help people with the exact thing that his father just got diagnosed with. I understand this is supposed to be an intense emotional scene. I get it's supposed to be dramatic, but I'm sorry, this is just too funny.
Peter, it's okay.
Maybe it's okay in this bullshit world here. I can't believe I got sucked into this. The little things that people don't notice, and then they notice them. That's useful. People are dying out there, and we're sitting around here taking pictures of my stupid face. Shut the hell up! You shut the hell up!
He storms out, goes back to his room, and starts ripping all of the art off his walls. I say ripping, but it's more like gingerly taking his art off the wall. My guess is they didn't have replicas of the art on the wall, and they didn't want him to rip or tear or accidentally ruin any of them in case they needed them for another scene. The editing disguises it pretty well, but once you notice it, it makes this whole scene so much funnier. And the episode ends with Peter. The episode ends with Peter crying in his bed. Me vibes. Episode 5 opens with Peter's roommate telling Peter that he's going to try and use his connections to get Peter a job at the University Health Center. 1 year later, Emma and Peter meet up, and Emma tells Peter she's going to India for a yoga and meditation retreat. I do not remember that. I guess that happened.
Going on a trip.
Where?
India. I'm doing a yoga and meditation retreat thing.
Emma tells Peter that she and Dave broke up, but she hardcore friend zones him.
So we're
good friends.
10 months earlier, Peter finishes his last class and gets a call from the Genetic Counseling Center offering him the job. We're treated to a montage of Peter getting used to his new job, and the actress playing the secretary is giving 110%. I love it. Eventually, Peter gets his own office, and we're caught up to the start of the first episode, where Peter has his first meeting with a patient. 1 year after that, and Julia and her husband Phil are celebrating Julia's last cancer treatment. Julia tells Phil that now that her treatment's over, she wants to start having kids. He agrees, but tells her that she has to tell Peter because he saved her life. He also says this:
"The man saved your life. I don't care about anything else. And I know it was overwhelming when he told you about the cancer, but you can't let your embarrassment stop you from telling him."
Implying that Julia was honest with him about kissing Peter, but he doesn't seem to be holding any resentment, which is sweet. She agrees and runs off to call Peter. That same day, while he's eating breakfast, Peter gets a call from his mom saying that his father has died. He's obviously very upset, so when Julia calls a little while later, he doesn't answer. Julia leaves a voicemail.
Hi, Peter, it's Julia calling. I know it's been several months since we last talked, but I just wanted to call to thank you for referring me to the best oncologist ever. Today was my last checkup for my chemo treatment, so I'm all done. And also really good news. Phil and I decided to fertilize the eggs they took before I started the chemo treatment, so we're gonna have a kid.
Peter's dad left Peter a letter when he died, telling him that he is proud of Peter and wants him to do what makes him happy. Peter gives the letter to his roommate, who tells him to pursue acting.
Hey, I just got this email actually about a casting call. You should do that. No, seriously, it's only on weekends.
In the final moments of the show, Peter is walking across campus and monologuing about how up until now he thought he had to decide between art and science, but has finally realized that he can just do both, I guess, or something like that. When he gets there, you realize the audition Peter goes to is the same one that Jack went to in the first episode of Never Do Business with Friends, but he introduces himself as Jack.
That looks all I need. What's your name?
Jack.
I'm not entirely sure what multiverse, fourth wall breaking shit is going on here, but I thought it was kind of fun. And that's Survive, starring Michael Knowles. Overall, it wasn't nearly as good as Never Do Business with Friends, probably because it's a lot harder to make a good low-budget drama than it is to make a fun low-budget comedy. There were some good moments, but I never really cared about any of the characters, and most of the internal struggles that were set up, like the religious baggage, were never really resolved in the end. I wonder if the ending of Survive was actually rushed, like it's implied that it was at the end of Never Do Business with Friends. For comparison, if I were making a tier list, Never Do Business with Friends would go in A tier and Survive would go in C tier. And I am making a tier list, so Never Do Business with Friends is going in A tier and Survive is going in C tier. Another plot twist. This is a tier list video. From what I can tell, Connections was the first filmed acting project that Michael participated in. From here, I'm just going to go through his acting projects vaguely chronologically, which also happens to mean that all the short films he acted in will be grouped together next before we get to his TV and film appearances. I won't be discussing every project as in depth as I did for Connections. I'll just talk about each one for as long as I feel like I have something interesting to say about it. I believe the first short film that Michael acted in is House of Shades. House of Shades begins with Michael Knowles as Gavin, who tells his roommate that he's broken up with his girlfriend because he's not ready for the commitment. But...
Don't worry, I got another target.
Sorry, I have to laugh.
Relax, skinny boy. I got this. Don't worry, I got another target. He's an athlete. I invited him to the house.
So we're 30 seconds in, and at this point, Michael Knowles is already playing a confirmed bisexual character. Michael playing a queer character was not something that I expected to find, but we still have 15 minutes of short film left, and at this point, I'm just asking myself if Michael Knowles on-screen gay kiss is too much to ask for. Anyways, his roommate asks if this guy's even gay.
Is he even gay? When has that match?
And when I said, James, he's straight,
Your response was, doesn't matter, I'm a celebrity. So freaking gross.
Gavin gets a knock on the door from a conservative student named Heather who's looking for petition signatures. Gavin just signs it to get her to go away. We meet this character named Dusty in his room where he's received a rose with an invitation to a secret location. Heather walks into Dusty's room with a full list of signatures, and we learn that the petition was to get the school to punish students for hooking up on campus.
Just imagine a campus free of random naked parties and slutty hookups. A campus where this kind of behavior is actually punished.
She sees the invitation on Dusty's bed and tells him that he has to go and spy on this degenerate party that he's been invited to. Dusty goes to the party, and we learn that it was Gavin who invited Dusty. So it seems that Dusty is Gavin's athlete target. I don't love the word target in this context, but let's just move on. Gavin pours Dusty a drink while he explains that the House of Shades is a members-only exclusive place. Gavin leaves for a bit, but people keep giving Dusty alcohol. When Gavin gets back, we see that Dusty's had at least 5 shots while he was gone. Dusty asks,
What is this place?
Think of it as a house of pleasure.
You mean a brothel?
Why, are you interested?
If sex is what you're after, you can certainly find it here.
You could easily find it
But
here.
it's about more than sex. Think of it as a haven rather than a brothel. A sanctuary free from fear where you can love whomever and how.
Boring!
Dusty gets dragged onto the dance floor, and some random girl tells Gavin to
Go carpe that DM, you big slut.
go carpe that DM, you big slut. Also, Cannibal by Kesha is playing in the background, which I love. Dusty is visibly very drunk, so him and Gavin leave the party. They're walking and talking and getting to know each other, and Dusty confesses that he's never drank before tonight.
I never drank before tonight.
Oh. Really?
Yeah,
Inhibition is so unbecoming.
I know, right?
They get to Dusty's dorm building, and
You okay, buddy? Gonna vom?
No.
You afraid to go inside?
It's not that.
I can leave.
That was...
wow. Here's actual footage of me watching this for the first time. So I really wasn't expecting that. It's not an explicit on-screen gay kiss, but it's kind of so much better. You know, ever since I first watched this, I've been walking around like the guy in the meme, standing at the wall at the party, thinking, they don't know about the Michael Knowles gay sex scene, because this short film at time of recording only has 8,000 views. Only 8,000 people have seen the Michael Knowles gay sex scene. And many of them probably don't even know Michael as a conservative political commentator. This hasn't been reposted anywhere either. I looked. They don't know about the Michael Knowles gay sex scene. There is one Michael Knowles acting compilation posted on YouTube by Michael Knowles fan, but it does not include this scene for some reason. I guess Michael Knowles fan was a bit embarrassed about the whole Michael Knowles gay sex scene thing. Okay, so calling this a sex scene might be a bit generous. It's really quick and there's no like thrusting or anything, but it was a lot closer to a gay sex scene than I was ever expecting from a Michael Knowles project. So I'm going to keep calling it the Michael Knowles gay sex scene, even though the gay sex was more implied than depicted. I should point out that Dusty is very intoxicated when this happens and Gavin is not, which would make this assault. It feels a bit weird to be like celebrating an assault scene, but I can understand a character's problematic behavior in a work of art and still appreciate that work of art for giving us a Michael Knowles gay sex scene.
Can I get a towel?
Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
Why does he keep wrapping his towel above his belly button like that? I don't understand. Stuff happens after this in the short film, but nothing that really seems worth mentioning besides the phrase post-devirginizing guilt.
Was it good?
Not exceptional.
Big? Kinky?
Did he tear your clothes off?
I wish. She was actually really awkward.
We are neither.
His virginity. You should have seen his face. Oh my god. This
Whatever.
poor kid.
It's not like you actually like the kid. Jesus Christ. You don't, right?
I'm allowed to.
No, you're not. And you don't. This is just post-divergenizing guilt. You want my advice?
Could I stop you?
No. Find someone hotter, fuck their brains out, and remember you can always do better.
It ends on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Is it Mr. October?
Cops raided the house.
What?
The description of the video on YouTube says, "The House of Shades revolves around the interconnected relationships of a group of college students and the student-ran nightclub/cabaret they call home. This film is an excerpt from that story." At first I thought this meant that this was like an adaptation of a part of a novel, but I couldn't find a book matching this description anywhere, so I don't know, I may never know what happens next. Anyways, The House of Shades goes to A tier, obviously, because of the Michael Knowles gay sex scene.
I think I'm pretty gay.
Yeah.
You know?
Just for the record, I thought you were bi.
I'm a gay conservative.
You are the very definition of gay. You are the gayest.
That was...
But I think I'm pretty gay.
In Triangle, Michael Knowles runs into this woman at the supermarket, goes home with her, and hooks up with her. Her black eye is concerning to him, though. Later, she calls Michael to tell him that she's being beaten by this other man again. Michael rushes over with a baseball bat, beats him up, and locks him in the basement. Later, he comes back over to apologize to the girl and kill the guy with a hammer. If you're thinking, oh, that sounds interesting, maybe I should watch it, don't bother. You basically already have, just from hearing my 30-second summary. Like, it's honestly impressive to me how little content they managed to spread over the course of 7 minutes. The scenes are shown out of chronological order, though, probably to make it more interesting, but it didn't work. Also, Michael gives one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
You don't have to be afraid anymore.
Triangle is going in D tier. Atrementous. According to the director's official website, Atrementous is a comedy short written and directed by Greg Starr about a naive white guy from Maine who sets out with his buddies after completing a 3-week filmmaking course to make a blaxploitation film with only white actors. The website also calls it a satirical mockumentary short about race relations and cinema. I didn't find it particularly funny or funny at all. It labels itself as a satire film because it depicts a white director making a blaxploitation film with all white actors in order to ridicule it, but it doesn't really seem to me like the director fully knows why that's worth ridiculing.
I would just like to, I need you guys to sound a little less educated.
Like, he knows it's bad, but I'm not buying that he knows why it's bad, which is not a good sign.
So you don't see a problem with white actors portraying black characters?
I don't really see race.
Also, the short film cursed us with having to hear Michael Knowles' black accent.
There's no need for that. She'll make it up to you. Let it slide, baby.
Pimpin' ain't easy.
And for that, it goes in F tier. Operation Elephant Ears is a comedy short film about a woman named Sylvia Lopez who goes to the doctor.
Let's see why you're here. Oh, my.
Okay, so why is she here? The doctor comes in and...
It says there you want your lips reduced. But if you ask me, you have gorgeous lips.
Yes,
so moist,
but,
full. Yes, her lips.
Doctor. Her lips.
Oh, I see.
The writing and performances are not funny, but something about the clumsily incorporated sound effects just gets me every time. Nurse Diaz comes in to prep Sylvia for surgery, and...
Let's see what we have here. What the? Ay, ay, ay. I'm so sorry. I was taken a little back.
The little gasp kills me. But Nurse Diaz comforts her because she had a friend who went through the same thing.
You know, honey, I had a friend who went through the same thing. So don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. God created us all, you know, the same.
You're probably wondering, where's Michael? IMDb lists his role in this as Doctor in Hall because for some reason they set up the hospital room so that anyone walking past the open door gets a full view up the patient's hospital gown. And also for some reason, the nurses and doctors keep leaving the door wide open. So Michael's entire role in this short film is to just stare up a woman's hospital gown.
The wheels, it's okay. Holy shit, what is that little bit? You get out of here, please!
Later, someone over the loudspeaker says,
Code red, mental patient on the loose.
And I don't know, I don't run a hospital, but I just have a hard time imagining it's a good idea to blast that information over the loudspeakers for everyone to hear, including the patients. I also have a hard time imagining that these two random nurses are responsible for solving this issue, but apparently they think they are because they leave their patient immediately, again with the door open. The escaped mental patient comes into Sylvia's room and starts pointing and yelling.
I'm Dr. Frankenberger.
What happened to Dr. Martinez?
Elephant ears! Elephant ears! Elephant ears!
Get him out of here!
So that's where the name comes from, unfortunately. The sound effects are the clear breakout star of this film and brought it out of F tier and into D tier. Tales of Light and Dark, GeoKilling. Tales of Light and Dark is a YouTube horror anthology series, and in 2014, Michael Knowles starred in Season 1, Episode 4, GeoKilling. Michael plays a guy named Eric who's going geocaching with his girlfriend Nicole and her brother Teddy after Nicole receives a mysterious flyer in the mail for a geocaching event. They meet up with these people Joe and Lydia and the group starts adventuring. Eric and Nicole start making out for no reason, which makes Teddy uncomfortable. They follow coordinates until they find this well with a DVD in the water bucket. Teddy brought his computer, and this was back when laptops still had DVD players in them. So they put the DVD in and watch a video of Joe running away from a car accident, followed by a video of Nicole and Teddy making out.
I thought he was gay.
Holy shit! What the fuck, Nicole?
It's not what you think.
Not what are you fucking your brother?
No!
Eric attacks Teddy and...
You asshole! Right, relax, skinny boy.
Michael's performance here is just so funny to me.
Guys, quit it! This is some serious shit! You're fucking right, it's serious shit!
God, they just broke my nose!
I'm gonna do fucking worse than that.
God, I'm gonna show your ass!
Why are you gonna say I hit you because you have an incest with your sister?
I'm adopted, remember?
Joe and Lydia leave and Eric goes back to attacking Teddy.
It happened. It was a mistake. I can't take it back.
It wasn't a mistake all those times we were together! You son of a bitch!
Eric! Eric!
What? Give me one good reason I shouldn't beat the shit out of him!
Are you sure you can?
Right, relax, skinny boy. Huh?
I'll give you 2. I love you, and I'm pregnant.
Oh, meanwhile, Joe and Lydia are fighting, and I'm kind of with Joe on this one. It seems like Lydia is making this a bigger deal than it is.
Come on,
You
Lydia!
left that woman!
Will you just listen to me?
Suddenly, a man in a mask with an axe starts chasing them, and we're in the campy horror homestretch, which I'm here for. Eric, Nicole, and Teddy hear Lydia scream.
What was that?
It sounded like Lydia. It sounds like she's in trouble.
And even though they're alone in the woods, where a mysterious figure who's been filming them directed them to go, Eric decides to leave, like, on his own. Lydia and Joe get chased into this abandoned building where Joe gets axed in the back by the killer. Nicole and Teddy hear his screams, but by the time they get there, Joe's body is no longer there. Eric gets in his car to leave, but he sees a bloody Joe in his backup camera. What we're treated to next is probably the best on-screen death I've ever seen. Later that night, Nicole and Teddy are still wandering around in the woods for some reason when they run into the killer who has a machete now.
Nicole, I'm gonna distract you. You go by, you run.
No, Teddy!
Fucking Nicole!
They kiss, which is weird, but Teddy dies, so it's just a nice, heartwarming cautionary tale against incest. No, so Nicole grabs the machete and the killer walks in. She stabs him, kills him, I guess, and takes his phone out of his pocket, where she finds this video of Lydia.
Hey guys, this is gonna be her.
3 more masked figures walk in, and one of them stabs her in the stomach. One of them starts quoting scripture, and
But you will be saved. Ezekiel 3:19.
Will you save the Sunday sermons for another day? Let's just have some fun.
they take off their masks and gasp, it's Lydia. And suddenly it really feels like she was making a big deal out of the whole Joe running away from a car accident thing. The masked figures talk about their plans to escape to Europe, and roll credits. I thought the best part of GeoKilling was the campy horror deaths, until I found the behind the scenes video where Michael does this.
Okay, new scene. Haley and Jamie getting out on the mattresses. They're brother and sister.
Yeah, he's never beating the bisexual allegations. But I don't think the behind the scenes should influence my ranking, so Tales of Light and Dark GeoKilling is going in C tier. Denver, Mullet, and New York City. This one hardly seems worth remarking on. It's 1 episode and it's only 2.5 minutes. The people on the laugh track are like screaming laughing the entire time, and I didn't smile even once.
So I use the toilet paper to get the gunk out, but I use the moist towelette to get little finishing touches.
Right. Thanks. I'm really glad that I now know with exacting detail how you clean your asshole.
F tier. Fuck you from LA. This short film follows Emma, a writer who loses her unofficial deal with Michael Knowles' character, who I think is supposed to be like a literary agent, after he stops working with Emma's mother.
The thing is, your mother is very famous, so it's easier to get meetings for her than for you. Look, you're a terrific writer, but I don't represent your mother anymore.
Right, yeah, she mentioned that.
So I don't know how much I can do for you.
Emma goes to a strip club to unwind and argues with another patron about how to properly respect a stripper.
She's a good-looking chicken cutlet, isn't she?
That's kind of objectifying, but yeah. You're a woman too, I think. Actually, I don't know what your preferred gender pronoun is, but you should know better.
This coming from the stick insect who's been throwing money at her?
In a respectful way. I am. I think she's beautiful, and I'm throwing money at her to let her know that.
The stripper, Celeste, gives Emma her card in the bathroom. Cut to Celeste at Emma's house, where they talk sexily about classic novels.
Jane Austen or the Brontes?
Which Bronte?
Emily.
Emily is definitely a more disciplined writer, but Charlotte is way more fun to read.
Emma wakes up the next morning to Celeste asking her to pay her for their time together.
It's gonna be $300.
For what?
Well, it's usually more, but you passed out before we could do much. Okay, well, you knew what the deal was.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. I gave you my card.
This is honestly really embarrassing. Like, imagine not knowing the person you're hooking up with is a sex worker and you're just a client.
God, that's so pathetic.
Excuse me. I'm running a 6-figure business. Thank you very much. I have $40,000 in Tesla stocks and a condo north of Sunset in Beverly Hills, so.
Later, Emma is venting to her friends about this when she gets a call from Michael, who says that Emma's mother has started working with him again, and suddenly he really likes Emma's writing again. She turns him down, and he does a line of coke and confesses to having syphilis.
What's a respectable move? Not coming back to the company or not sleeping with you?
Not sleeping with me. I'm syphilitic.
This one was cute and had some funny moments, but nothing special, so I'm putting it in C tier. The Hopping Dead. This is a really short film. It's only 3 minutes long, and it follows Michael and this other guy as they break into some Chinese person's house. They find this body with a paper symbol attached to its forehead, which Michael removes. The body starts hopping around and following Michael. Apparently it's a Jiangshi, which is Chinese for hopping vampire. I probably didn't pronounce that right, whatever. The vampire takes a chunk out of Michael's neck and is about to attack the other guy when this chick comes in and saves him. I thought this one was fine, but then I read the YouTube description, which reveals that this was actually created for a short film contest where they were tasked with making short films under 3 minutes long using only 4 pre-selected lines of dialogue. What they came up with was honestly impressive because I didn't notice that there were only 4 lines of dialogue that were pretty generic until after it was pointed out to me. So this one's going in B tier. Next up, we've got the music video for Great Caesar's Don't Ask Me Why. The video opens in an ambiguous time period where racism in America is still a major struggle. So sometime between 1776 and today. I'm no fashion expert, but I'm guessing based on their clothes, something like 1950s, 1960s. This little black kid and this little white kid grow up and they fall in love and it's very cute. Of course, the racists come and like beat him up when they find him with this girl. This part of the video covers the first and second verses and the first chorus and half of the second chorus. Halfway through the second chorus, we get a time jump to modern day. Here we meet this guy in a classroom as he smiles at... oh my god, Michael Knowles is gay again. They're just typecasting him at this point. So this guy gets bullied at school for being gay, and also this girl and her partner come out to her parents, but it doesn't go well, and she has to move out. This music video is making the obvious comparison between opposing interracial partnership and opposing same-sex partnership, which goes against everything that Michael Knowles believes and stands for today, or says he believes. But we will always have this music video to look back upon. Plus, I like the song, so this goes in B tier. The Knick is a series that I haven't watched. Apparently it's pretty good, but it's about a surgeon in the early 1900s. And as I was like scrolling through trying to find where Michael appears in the season 1 finale, I saw like a brain, which grossed me out, so I decided not to watch it. If you've seen it, let me know if it's worth a watch in the comments. Anyways, Michael plays like a background extra in 1, maybe 2 scenes. It's a non-speaking role, so he just has to stand there and not say anything. It's his best performance yet. Life Coach is a made-for-TV movie that I couldn't find anywhere on the first page of Google, so I gave up. No, I looked for this movie for a long time, but I could not find any way to watch it. Based on the only picture of the film on IMDb, it's definitely one that I want to watch, so if you know how to get your hands on a copy, please let me know. Blend In is a sitcom that, from what I can tell, didn't actually ever get made. It was supposed to be about 5 young adults from different countries who have all recently moved to LA in order to live their own versions of the American dream. There are a few clips online, but the only speaking parts I found from Michael come from the trailer.
Oh, that does not mean anything, okay?
And he's doing a bad Italian accent. I love how at the end of the trailer they do a toast and all clink glasses, but like just ignore Michael entirely. Same. I unironically like this concept for a sitcom, but from what I've seen of what was filmed, I can't say I'm surprised that the networks decided not to pick this one up. The Outdoorsman. Okay, so we're back to things that I've actually seen. The Outdoorsman is a rom-com about Jason, a guy who gets broken up with by his longtime girlfriend as he's preparing for a year-long survival trip in the wilderness. After getting kicked out of his ex's place, Jason moves in with his friend Blake, who lives in the same building as Mona, a woman who has recently quit her job because she didn't get the promotion she had been working towards for so long. The movie follows Jason as he prepares for his upcoming odyssey, Mona as she learns what her life looks like without this job that she spent so long at, and their blossoming relationship as they fall for each other. Michael Knowles only shows up for a few minutes during a montage of Mona trying to find ways to make money after her severance pay runs out. He's a medical researcher looking for subjects to test the effects of smoking weed and laying down.
Yeah, yep, coming in. How long?
3 months. And you can't leave. Or get out of bed. Or stop smoking pot.
Sign me up. Honestly, this movie was very cute. It made me smile. Both the leads were great, especially Sashir Zameda as Mona. You might know her from SNL. There's also a part where Jason smokes DMT and suddenly you're watching the ugliest animation ever. I love it. This is going in A tier and I'm gonna stop talking about it because of everything on this list. This is probably what I'd most recommend you actually watch yourself, especially if you're just looking for like a cute little mid-budget rom-com. Don't expect too much though. If you watch it and you're like, that was kind of mid, like, yeah, it's not the best movie ever. It's just the best movie that Michael Knowles managed to get cast in. Clipped wings, they do fly. Or Beyond the Silence. Unclear. I had a hard time finding a way to watch this movie too. It's unclear what even the name of the movie is. It's listed on IMDb as Clipped Wings They Do Fly, but the poster on IMDb says Beyond the Silence. It looks like it's a film adaptation of a book. I'm fairly confident the book is titled Clipped Wings They Do Fly, but the movie appears to go by both names based on the official movie Facebook account. While trying to figure this all out, I actually found out that the writer-director of the movie and the author of the book are the same person, William Michael Barbie. So a passion project. A passion project I will probably never get to see because I emailed and Instagram DM'd him asking for a way to pay for the movie so I could watch it, and he hasn't responded. I guess he's too busy with his campaign for city council. Wait, his campaign ended in November of 2022. Why has he not responded to my emails? The Savant is a weird movie. It opens with this logo, Justice for All Productions, so this should be interesting. It follows Knick, a cop who's well-trained in martial arts, but after he gets in trouble at work, he's stationed at a high school where he meets a mostly nonverbal autistic boy named Anthony. Another boy named Juan picks on Anthony a lot, and one day Anthony snaps and beats him up in the middle of gym class. We learn later that Anthony has a history of erratic violence and has beat up several classmates over the years. Knick decides he's going to take Anthony under his wing and train him in martial arts. It's important to note that Juan is the martial arts student of a prosecuting attorney and karate sensei named Zane, who also happens to be Knick's arch nemesis for some reason. Also, Anthony's older sister and only living family is a defense attorney. As the story unfolds, Knick isn't making as much progress with Anthony as he had hoped, so he brings in this old guy who's a psychiatrist, apparently. This old guy says that Anthony is a savant, a martial arts prodigy. Also, after looking at a list of names of people Anthony had beat up, he noticed that they all had Hispanic last names and wildly jumped to the conclusion that this means that Anthony only gets violent when people insult him in Spanish, and he's also a savant in the language Spanish. And this wild assumption is just correct. Like, he's right about it. Like, he knew him for one day, and his older sister, who literally speaks Spanish, never found this out, but whatever. Knick uses this information to help train Anthony by insulting him in Spanish to get him to engage and like fight him back. While Knick and Anthony are training, Zane and Juan are also training, and Zane plans and schedules a fight between Juan and Anthony that Knick agrees to for some reason. Also, Zane is trying to get Knick in legal trouble. He asks his partner to investigate whether he lied on his police application, and also investigate a rumor that he had killed somebody in Italy. There's a fantastic training montage, but right before the final fight, Knick decides that Anthony is not ready, and he is going to fight instead against Zane. Knick wins pretty quickly. There's no tension in this scene. I think just because it was like really poorly shot, honestly. Anyway, Zane approaches Knick in the locker room after the fight and is like, here we go, we going again. Knick's boss shows up to arrest Zane for planting false evidence against Knick, I guess. We get this explanation from Anthony's sister.
For what?
How about official misconduct? For initiating an illegitimate law enforcement investigation against Knick? For tampering with government computers and creating a false rap sheet?
It's unclear how she knows, like, it's not about her. Final scene of the movie is Knick explaining to Anthony that yes, he did in fact kill someone in Italy. And Anthony's like, cool.
Esos hombres recibieron justicia. Igual a Zane.
Roll credits. This is honestly such a strange movie to me. The pacing is weird. It like rushes through every plot point because there are so many of them. And this movie has so many characters, it doesn't know what to do with them. There's enough plot and character here to last a whole miniseries, but it's crammed into one 90-minute movie. Like, I haven't even mentioned Michael Knowles' character yet. Michael plays another defense attorney representing a man named Dr. Clark, who apparently is such a beloved member of this community that his trial has sparked outrage amongst locals who chant, "Free Dr. Clark," both outside and inside the courtroom. The judge says he's accused of 3 murders, and that sounds pretty bad.
Your client is charged with a triple homicide.
How is Michael going to defend him?
The allegations are that he assisted 3 people in peacefully ending their lives, 3 people with terminal illnesses.
He says that he can't be convicted because Dr. Clark is a medical doctor who assisted 3 terminally ill people in ending their lives early. Suddenly I'm like, okay, assisted suicide is such an interesting moral question to explore in a movie. I'm not sure how it fits into this one. But then the judge says this.
Dr. Clark here shot 3 people in the head at a gas station. It was all caught on video. None of the 3 victims that he shot were his patients. And none of the 3 victims had a terminal illness.
They were heroin addicts, Judge. They could have OD'd at any time.
So, not assisted suicide. After the judge dismisses the court, Knick approaches Michael, and Michael basically says that he's just here for the check and doesn't really care about his client. Knick is like, seems pretty corrupt. And Michael's like, the police aren't? And Knick is just like, yeah, good point. Like, this is the protagonist of the movie. Like, he's supposed to be our good guy, and he's just like, corruption? I pretend I do not see it. So that's cool. Anyways, we finally get to the point of the scene. Knick asks Michael about the legality of autistic kids participating in high school sports. As if this random defense attorney is going to know anything about that.
What do you know about autistic kids in high school and fighting and the law?
It's a lot of questions.
This is the first time in the movie that Knick expresses an interest in training Anthony, which I think is the point of the scene. But I hadn't felt like I needed him to verbalize it. I mean, he's a martial arts teacher who owns a new studio but has no students when he sees Anthony rock a trained fighter's shit. Like, I think I can see where this is going. But no, we get this whole scene about Dr. Clark, and the legality of an autistic student fighting is never brought up again after this scene. Michael's character never returns after this scene. Dr. Clark is never mentioned again after this scene. None of this mattered. This is what I mean when I say this movie has too many characters and plot points. I've been pretty critical of this movie so far, so you probably think that I hated it, but no, I actually loved this movie. No matter how poorly written the story is, I can't not love this movie because the performances are just too good. I'm not even talking about the main cast. I mean, like, every actor playing any minor side character is just doing the most at all times. They're all making the boldest acting choices. Like, I wouldn't call them all good, but they're certainly all entertaining. I don't know if the director was spiking his actors' drinks or like the casting director was just feeling extra spicy or something, but I'm here for it. Like this guy, who's apparently also a judge, he's only in this one scene, but are you kidding? This line is iconic.
The state Supreme Court has put our free speech rights in jeopardy. I've done all that I can in the courtroom. Now, I'm taking it to the streets. Gagged and naked is how they have left us, so gagged and naked is how I will be. Officer, put that gag back in my mouth.
Oh. It's so good, I don't care that it doesn't matter and never comes back. And the actress playing the gym teacher, yeah. This is her during the first day that Knick is stationed at the high school.
So how much can you bench press?
Really?
I would say 300 pounds?
Yeah.
So if you had to pick one of these kids who'd become a murderer, who would it be?
Later, there's this scene where she's explaining to Anthony's sister, teacher, and the principal what she saw when Anthony beat up Juan in gym class. She sounds almost like into it.
This is where it happened, over by this basket. Really, I've never seen anything quite like it before. So athletic, but brutal. He's autistic? Yes, but he's not brutal.
Even just her facial expressions when the principal is reading off Anthony's history of violence. I'm obsessed. How do I meet this gym coach? Because I want to be friends. The judge in Dr. Clark's trial is another one of my favorite performances.
$2 million cash, bail, no 10%, and no bond.
Honestly, the people in the audience too. Give them all Oscars.
Free Dr. Clark! Free Dr. Clark! Free Dr. Clark!
I also love this scene where Anthony's sister is a guest speaker in Anthony's class, and she tells the class that they've recently learned that Anthony responds better to Spanish, and so all the students are trying to learn Spanish for him, and this one girl stands up and says this.
1, 2, 5, 3. That's very close.
This whole movie is filled with unintentionally funny moments. I think that moment was intended to be funny, but I think it was funny not in the way that it was intended but in the way that it wasn't. Does that make sense? No. Moving on. Towards the end, we finally get the training montage I'd been waiting the whole movie for, because like, it's a fighting movie, of course there's a training montage. But they make the bold decision to have Nick's ex-wife narrate the montage by reading facts about autism as the men train.
Music, art, mathematics, and other skills such as knowing the time without seeing a clock or committing a map to memory are found in autistic savants. Aside from memory, other factors that assist a savant in honing their skills include the ability to focus and concentrate.
It's very funny. I think it's important to consider the quality of the representation of autism here. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert. From what I can tell though, it seems like it could have been better, but it also certainly could have been a lot worse. Most of the characters the movie frames as the good guys are really respectful of Anthony, and they don't dehumanize or belittle him because of his autism. There is a moment where someone calls him the R slur, and I don't remember it being explicitly framed as a problem, which is not good. I did a little research about the actor who portrayed Anthony. It's clear he's not nonverbal like Anthony is, but I wasn't able to find out if he himself has autism or not. It's also unclear whether anyone with autism was working behind the scenes on this movie. As it stands, I would say it's not a terrible depiction of autism, but again, I'm not an expert, so if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Also, why is Juan playing Game Boy Advance? This movie was released in 2019. It's terrible. I love it. A tier. American Criminal. Trigger warning for racism, murder, kidnapping, torture, SA, and CP. I'll be brief and vague, but skip to the next chapter if brief mentions of that stuff will upset you. American Criminal has got to be one of the worst film viewing experiences I've ever had. Oh look, it's another Justice for All production. I wonder what in Michael had with that company. American Criminal is about an ex-cop named Brandis who was convicted of, I think, murder. I refuse to go back and rewatch a single second of this movie to make sure I got the details right. So if I'm wrong, don't blame me. This whole movie is shot from Brandis's first-person perspective and is presented as one shot throughout the whole movie, like Birdman or 1917. Using both of these camera gimmicks was certainly a choice. Unfortunately, they weren't able to conceal the cuts very well, and the first-person perspective gave me a headache, so I can't say I support either decision. The movie starts in this weird liminal space that's apparently attached to a synagogue, and we learn that Brandis has recently escaped prison with the help of these two criminals. He's also kidnapped a bunch of seemingly random people to play jurors in this sick retrial he's orchestrated for himself. The judge, prosecuting attorney, and witnesses are all people that Brandis knows personally, though. We learn that Brandis and all these other shady characters, lawyers and judges, were planting fake evidence to convict people who they thought were guilty but couldn't prove guilty in court. If I remember correctly, the person Brandis was convicted of killing was someone who had gotten proof that they were planting fake evidence. The twist at the end of the movie is that it was the rabbi all along. So, classic rabbi twist. I bet you're wondering at this point who Michael plays. If you guessed one of those two masked criminals, you would be correct. What was his crime?
A serial rapist who would strangle his victims with a belt as he raped them. Why the belt, Winston?
It worked the first time, and it shut him up.
Mystery solved! And why mostly black women?
Niggers owe me.
But Winston, I'm confused. You raped a few whiteys too. Do white women owe you too?
The ones with big titties do.
So, ew? The other criminal is a mass shooter, and because Brandis has this like personal hero complex, he shoots and kills both of them within the first 6 minutes of the movie. Michael's death is only notable because his acting is so bad. When he's being chased with a gun, you can literally see him smiling. Like, this is him breaking character, right? I'm not buying this as a genuine fear reaction.
No, please.
Please? Did that work with your victims? How about please shut the fuck up?
It seems like every plot point was written for no other reason than to be as disturbing as possible. Like, I have a pretty high tolerance for disturbing imagery in movies, and this was entirely too much, and for no good reason too. There's torture, lots of discussion of CP, a lot of slurs. We've already heard Michael say the N-word, but the R slur and F slur also both find their way into this movie somehow. There's really no delicate way to put this, but at one point a character monologues about abusing a 9-year-old girl at the school he worked at, going in graphic detail about how he did it. I do not recommend this movie to anyone. Immediate F tier. Also, the actor playing Brandis gives one of the worst performances I've ever heard.
You know who I am.
You.
Tell them.
You're a racist cop.
Ding, 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 ding. Fuck, he gonna kill us, man.
But his voice does sound familiar. I wonder, what do I know him from? Oh, it's that guy.
Gagged and naked is how they have left us, so gagged and naked is how I will be. Officer, put that gag back in my mouth.
Oh, Judd.
No Safe Spaces. No Safe Spaces is a documentary. Most of the people in the cast on IMDb are listed as playing themselves, but Michael is listed as playing a character named Keith. So I went in thinking maybe it was a documentary that also had some like scripted and acted sections, like The Social Dilemma. I watched this whole thing though, and it's about the supposed lack of free speech on college campuses. This movie came out in 2019, and maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like the discourse about not having free speech on college campuses was already on its way out by 2019. It heavily features Dennis Prager and Adam Carolla. In fact, the whole film is framed around them. Unfortunately, there's not much to engage with here because No Safe Spaces is pretty much all style and no substance. It's less of a documentary and more of 90 minutes of conservative pundits saying buzzwords molded into the vague shape of a documentary. And look, it's directed by the same guy who directed What is a Woman, so that checks out. And you know who's not in the movie? Michael Knowles. There's no character named Keith. Keith doesn't exist. They're just out here lying on IMDb. I watched the entire end credit sequence looking for his name in the cast list. It's not in the cast list, but you can find it in the extra special thanks section. I wonder what he did to get himself there. Yeah, No Safe Spaces is going in F tier. If for no other reason than they lied to me. Michael Knowles isn't in this, and I just watched it. They tricked me. F tier. Freedom Toons. Michael Knowles has provided voice acting for, at time of recording, 4 episodes of Freedom Toons. I've never seen Freedom Toons before watching these 4 episodes. I only knew about its existence because its creator, Seamus Coughlin, was a guest on an episode of Yes or No.
My life has been shaped by the immense amount of Catholic guilt I feel on a daily basis, clearly.
Yeah. Freedom Toons is a series of short, animated comedy scenes. The skits always have a conservative bent to them. Like in woke commercials, the joke is, I guess, that every commercial these days is about LGBTQ people.
You should be gay. Hey, you watching. Hello. You should be gay.
Oreos. You're gay.
What was that?
Oh man, I really want some Oreos.
Mom? Dad? I'm trans.
No son of mine!
I definitely think there's a joke in there somewhere. Like, yeah, rainbow capitalism can be made fun of, but every episode of Freedom Toons is aggressively unfunny.
Get out of my neighborhood! Get out of my neighborhood! Go! Leave me alone!
The only funny joke in the 4 episodes I watched comes from the episode Ken and Karen Oppress the Woke Mob. And it's just, what did I say? Rainbow capitalism's kind of funny. I mean, I chuckled. All of Michael's performances are unremarkable, by the way. So, F tier. Hollyweird. So maybe I spoke too soon when I said That American Criminal was the most unpleasant film viewing experience ever. Hollyweird is the first and last movie that Michael Knowles has a starring role in. It's also a movie where nothing happens and none of the characters do anything. I guess that's only kind of true, but every scene I was like, okay, maybe this is the scene where the plot finally progresses in an interesting way or the characters develop. But then none of that ever happens. But here's my best summary of what could be called the plot of Hollyweird. Our 2 leads are Michael, that's not the character's name, but I don't care to check, so I'm calling him Michael, and Steven, which also I'm not entirely sure is actually his name. Some people call him Stevie, some people call him Steve-O, some people call him Steven. I'm going with Steven. Steven is a struggling actor in Hollywood, and he asks his agent if he can try out for the role of Bosco in the movie Hollyweird. His agent tells him that he's not Latino enough for those types of roles, but she says that she'll think about it. Apparently, she decides not to let him off screen, but he crashes the audition anyways. When his agent finds out, she drops him, and he says out loud, what else could possibly go wrong? And so, of course, his car breaks down.
What else could possibly go wrong? What?
He's late to his job, and he gets fired, so now he has no income and struggling to pay rent. Meanwhile, Michael hitchhikes to Hollywood, and while he's just standing outside, this producer walks by and...
You're perfect. Your clothes are perfect. Don't tell me you speak with a Latino accent, because that would be really weird.
You talking to me, ma?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, so Michael lies about being Latino and having a Hispanic accent, and as a result, we have to suffer through an entire movie of Michael Knowles doing this terrible character voice. I mean, we don't have to suffer. I had to suffer. I suffered for you. You're welcome. So Michael goes to an influencer party, has an angry outburst, and this girl boss named Zara films it and uploads it to social media. It goes viral, and Zara's like, I'm your agent now. So Zara is his agent now. Meanwhile, Steven meets his neighbor Tabby, who is the second best character after Zara. Tabby comes from a small town in Texas and uses her southern charm to befriend the lonely Steven. From here, the characters spend the next 45 minutes not really doing anything. Steven is prepping for his callback, gets evicted from his apartment because he can't pay rent and moves in with Tabby. Meanwhile, Michael thinks he already... Oh, fuck. I think I just realized I forgot to mention that the part that Michael has been promised by this producer is Bosco. They're going for the same part. That feels... I can't believe I forgot to mention that. You were probably really confused. Okay. There's also a scene where Tabby's like, hey, I should be your agent. And Steven is like, okay. And then literally the very next second, he gets a phone call from his old agent saying she wants to hire him back. And he's like, damn, if you'd have called 30 seconds ago. Meanwhile, Michael is operating like he basically already has the role. Also, Zara keeps wandering into his apartment unannounced, which means that we get to see Michael Knowles in leopard print boxer briefs. So... yay.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
Zara lines up a TV appearance for Michael, but one of the producers of Hollyweird drives him out to the middle of the desert to do some weird acting exercises, and he misses his TV appearance. This rightfully pisses Zara off, and she yells at the producer over the phone.
Hello, this is Eric.
I'm gonna fucking
Yeah, if he misses your appointment, that's your fault.
motherfucker.
She's mad at me, bro.
Kill you piece
Let me
of
clarify.
shit.
And in the next scene, we learn that Zara was fired as Michael's agent off screen, because everything happens off screen in this movie. Because I love nitpicking, I will take this opportunity to point out that this movie does absolutely nothing right. The opening credits use this terrible font. I hate it. I was trying to pinpoint what was so wrong about it, and I think it's because the letters are too thin to be spaced that far apart. There's also this scene where Zara and Michael are shopping for clothes for Michael to wear, and they're commenting on the color, but honestly, the scene is so terribly lit, I couldn't tell you what a single one of those shirts looked like.
I wanna go darker.
We finally get to the final twist of the movie. Michael shows up at Tabby and Steven's apartment because he and Steven were childhood friends, apparently.
Hey, Stevito. Alex? ¿Qué pasa?
This was never hinted at or foreshadowed at all, so cool. Steven learns that Michael is the frontrunner for the part of Bosco, which bums him out, but he's just kind of like, whatever.
You're not even Hispanic, and your accent sounds really fake. I know.
It's the one thing he's been working this whole movie towards, and he just doesn't care that much, I guess. Anyways, Steven, Tabby, and Michael all go out for dinner, and Michael is weirdly aggressive towards Tabby. She's like, whoa, I'm not into this, but he keeps grabbing at her anyways.
She's playing hard to get, man.
How much more I can take of this?
He's joking. It's not a big deal.
Steven doesn't really stand up to Michael for her, so she just kind of gets up and leaves.
She should be so lucky. She's not all that. What a bitch.
While she's gone, Michael stops speaking in his accent because he's just in front of Steven now, but this line cook comes out and starts filming him. Line cooks of the world unite. Deus Ex Machina, more like line cook ex machina. At one point, Michael and Steven are fighting. I don't really remember what they're fighting about, just that it wasn't about him acting towards Tabby, because Michael and Steven end the movie on good terms without ever unpacking that. So that's a pretty cool thing that our protagonists do. Anyways, Michael gets fired because a producer was sent the video of him speaking without his accent and learned that he was lying. 3 months later, Steven and Tabby are dating and running an online acting business of some kind. Steven is doing commercials now, which is the one thing he always said he didn't want to do. Roll credits. I guess the message of this movie was dream small and temper your expectations. Truly one of the most terrible, pointless, boring movies I've ever seen. The best thing I can say about it is, well, it's a screenplay worthy of Michael's acting. F tier, sorry. And that is every web series, short film, music video, TV show, and movie from Michael Knowles' failed acting career. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I learned a lot, like, why Michael failed as a Hollywood actor. That is abundantly clear to me now. But let's end today on a positive note. Let's end with a montage of all of my favorite Michael Knowles acting moments.
Does this mean you own a car?
No.
Oh, good. That means you can transport equipment between locations from now on. Oh, hey, Jack.
Hey, I'm confused.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Peter, you need to be more dominating, okay? Not that dominating.
Hey, Heather, good news. We're back on for the...
Oh, honey, we were just practicing for the scene.
But we canceled it.
I thought you just said we're back on.
We are.
Oh, great. We're ready when you are.
You look great.
Thanks.
It's really nice when you hold a party and people get dressed up.
Oh, thanks, Dan. How you been?
Good. Chips.
And ever since we met, my love's been growing like a tumor.
I've got to go. I'm sorry.
You mean you're leaving after I've made us this dinner?
Yes.
Suck it up, Peter.
How can you say that, suck it up?
You want a spoon?
You want a screw?
Bonk. I can't believe I got sucked into this.
The little things that people don't notice, and then they notice them. That's useful. People are dying out there, and we're sitting around here taking pictures of my stupid face. Shut the hell up! You shut the hell up! What are you... Holy shit! What the fuck, Nicole?
It's not what you think.
Not what I think. Are you fucking your brother?
This is some serious shit.
You're fucking right, it's serious shit.
God, I think you broke my nose.
I'm gonna do fucking worse than that.
God, I'm gonna show your ass.
Why are you gonna say I hit you because you have an incest with your sister? I'm gonna ask.
Stop it! It happened. It was a mistake. I can't take it back.
It wasn't a mistake all those times we were together.
You son of a bitch!
Eric! Eric!
What? Give me one good reason I shouldn't beat the shit out of him, huh?
I'll give you two. I love you, and I'm pregnant.
Okay, new scene.
No, I can't.
Haley and Jamie getting out on the mattresses. They're brother and sister.
So is sex still on the table?
No.
A stupid move, but a respectable one.
What's a respectable move? Not coming back to the company or not sleeping with you?
Not sleeping with me. I'm syphilitic.
Oh!
Pack up your bags and fly. We've got some dreaming before
Listen, man, there's no need for that. She'll make it up to you. Let it slide, baby. Pimping ain't easy.
Don't worry, I got another target. He's an athlete. I invited him to the house.
Is he even gay?
When is that match?
I'll just wait for you to get dressed.
I'm wearing a towel. A sanctuary free from fear where you can love whomever.
Boring. Come on, beautiful.
Wait.
That was... Wow. Can I get a towel?
I think I'm pretty gay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a gay conservative.
Right.
Was he good?
Not exceptional.
Big? Kinky? Did he tear your clothes off?
I wish.
We are neither.
His virginity. You should have seen his face. Oh my God, this poor
Whatever.
kid. Do you smoke pot ever? So that's really all you have to do. Lay in bed and smoke pot. You can't leave, or get out of bed, or stop smoking pot.